Hello, all of you wonderful people out there in podcast land.
Hi.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Black and White Reviews. My name is Chuck.
My name is Lee.
My name is Will, and I am
Will's like,
I am very excited. I am very excited for this one.
How are you?
Yes.
Are you really?
Yes, I
yeah.
am.
So today we're talking about the 2008 disaster known as Pineapple Express.
It feels good in my brain. Cups.
Sorry about things just got out of hand.
Yeah, that's the way it was with my first husband.
Starring Seth Rogen, James Franco, and a bunch of other morons that played in this film.
Directed by David Gordon Green. So, yeah, this movie is hysterical. I love this movie.
It's hot trash.
This movie is so awesome. It is so cool. The concept of it is amazing. The concept of this
horrible.
movie is you smoke weed, you get paranoid, but the things that you're paranoid about are really happening. It's awesome. And the fact that James Franco and Seth Rogen in this movie don't stop smoking makes everything even better. It is hilarious.
There's a point where Seth Rogen's character basically says that. Like,
Yes.
They do stop
we
at a
need to
certain
stop.
point. They stop about 3/4 of the way through. The thing
And then there's a kaboom and they're high all over again. Yes.
Literally.
See, the thing is none of them should have survived this film.
Of course
none
not.
of them.
No.
None of them. What's his name? Who's the he was a small part in this, but he
Danny McBride.
yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, not Red.
Gary Cole.
Oh, no. You said small part.
small part. Hold on. Keep talking. I'll
What?
look it up.
I mean, they're all right here. Who? What?
I can't see it.
Well, then fix your eyeballs.
I mean, everybody else
I
died.
could see it. Yeah.
So it's like
Hold on. Keep going.
are you thinking about like the very beginning of the movie with Bill Hader?
No, the end. I love you. I want to marry you. Seriously? This would never happen. This would never, ever happen. It's so dumb. It is so dumb.
Tell us how you really feel. Tell us how you really
The fact
feel.
that she is in high school and he is 25 years old.
Says more
Of
about him
course-
than it is about her, though.
Yeah.
Of course. But
Yeah,
of course
okay.
his dad's like, I hate you. And I'm like, of course.
Of course.
Oh, it's so dumb. I hate this movie.
All of the reasons why you think it's dumb, I think it's awesome. I think this movie is awesome. I think Seth Rogen is
Oh.
one of those comedians that
Hold on, to go back. Is it Ken Wong? Is that how you say his
Oh,
name?
yeah.
okay.
He's in it for like 10 seconds.
Yeah, not that long.
Not Ken Jeong. Yeah.
Zhong.
Ken
I'm
Jeong?
surprised because he actually, with these guys, he actually starts doing a lot.
Later on.
Later on, he starts
Yeah.
doing a lot more roles.
Yeah.
I think he did this, and then after this, I think is when he did the Hangover movies and stuff as well.
Yeah, he was in Couples Retreat.
Yeah.
He was in a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
But go ahead, Will. Sorry, you were saying how
No,
much you hate this movie.
I don't hate this movie. I think this movie is great. I think it's funny. I think it's exactly what a pot smoking movie should be. And just the hilarity of all of the circumstances these two find themselves in, all because they decided to smoke and all because they decided to keep on smoking and just make everything even worse for themselves. And the thing is like, it's kind of like there's two sides to the story. One side where it is like a mistaken identity type thing, but it's not. Another side is like, we're in the situation because we smoked weed, but they're not, but then they are again, but they're not. I think everything about that, everything about the dynamic and the situation in this movie, I think is fantastic. It's funny. And this is coming from me I do not typically do well with a whole bunch of comedies. This is funny for, I will give you all of the wrong reasons. Because you're absolutely right. There's no way any of this would happen. And if it did, nobody's walking away from any of this alive. Let alone the two potheads of the movie win, it is ridiculous. That to me is the most ridiculous part of this movie, is like the potheads were able to like up like the drug dealer and get thrown into the middle of this war that he got going on with the Chinese. It's ridiculous that they survived this at all, but they did, and it's hysterical. It's fantastic. James Franco in this movie is a genius. James Franco in this movie is a genius. He is fantastic in this movie as the stoner pot dealer who just wants a friend. I thought it was amazing. I thought this movie was absolutely incredible. This is hilarious. Go ahead.
If the movie was gonna end at the very end, the way that the two of them thought it ended, that would have been better. But it didn't. And it's so unrealistic, and it's so dumb, and it's I'll say this. There was a handful of scenes where I laughed pretty good because it was just that stupid. And I love comedies. I love a good comedy. This was just, it went to a whole nother level of like craziness. I think it was well written. I think that the acting was done. I just hate the movie. So as like a film in whole, like it was well done. I just hate the movie. I think it's so stupid. I think what just happened?
He bleeped you for saying stupid. He got tired of you. Yeah.
Oh, he's
censored you.
Hitting buttons.
He censored you for saying stupid.
He's hitting buttons because he's button happy.
Yeah.
I've got buttons.
This movie is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It is so ridiculous.
But that's the point, though. The point is it's supposed to be ridiculous. It's supposed to be dumb.
So
You're not supposed to take any of this seriously.
So when I think of pot smoking movies, I think of like Next Friday or Harold and Kumar, where stupid things happen, but not this. Like okay, riding a Jaguar, okay, pretty dumb. Like I'll go ahead, like it's just, or Cheetah, whatever they rode.
Yeah, but at least in Pineapple Express, the stakes are pretty high. They're pretty out there. In Harold and Kumar, the goal is eat food. That's it. That's the entire movie. Is we need to make it to White Castle and eat a bunch of sliders because we're high.
But that makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
In this movie, this didn't happen because they smoked.
Yes, it did.
This happened this happened because he just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and saw the wrong thing, and boom, everything else happens.
How did they find him?
And that's the key of any comedy.
How did they find him?
Because he happened to be smoking.
Exactly. The whole movie is built on this all happened because they smoke weed.
Mm-hmm.
It's so dumb.
It is not. That's a point.
So this movie, I'm gonna say something. This movie
was stupid.
I think some of my favorite comedies have this mistaken identity type thing going on in it. And I mean, you go back to like Dumb and Dumber, they're like, oh, these guys are pros, like it's always like these dumb people who are totally aloof and just like screw things up. And they're like, these guys are good. Like, but that's what makes it funny because we see both sides of what's happening, but either side thinks that something totally different is happening on the other side. I mean, at one point in this movie, you've got the main bad guy and the main, protagonist here saying, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? And it's like, they both think they're after each other, but they're not. They just want to be left alone. They both just want to be left alone.
Yes.
And this whole thing happens, this whole thing blows up, literally blows up in the end.
Literally.
And it's just, rewatching this movie, I mean, yeah, it's crass. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that's happening in it that I do not agree with, and I don't think I have to watch this movie again.
Ever.
But
Ever
but the
again.
parts in it that I laughed at were the parts that were clearly just improvised, which is a lot of it. I mean, that's the thing about a lot of the Apatow. Anything that Apatow has his hand in, there's a lot of improvisation, and that Danny McBride was like improving like. Most of his lines. Like most of his lines were improvised because but I'm going to go back to why I understand rewatching it now. I understand why Will likes this movie. Completely. Will likes to laugh at things. He does, even though he doesn't like comedy movies. But this movie fits into what he likes about movies. He likes it when people don't know what they're getting into. So, I mean, let's look at the movies we've recently talked about, these Coen Brothers movies.
Yes.
We start off with Fargo. And, William H. Macy did not know what he was getting himself into.
Zero.
And that's like the big thing there. And then, same with Francis McDormand and everybody else. Like, these characters did not know what they were getting themselves into. Big Lebowski, same exact thing. This dude is just like, hey, man, like the entire time, not knowing what he's getting himself into and what he's walking into. And again, everybody's looking at him like, who is this guy? What's he up to? Again, there's a mistaken identity thing. There's these people who are just walking into things and they're not part of this world, but they're now stuck in this world somehow.
Very true.
And then I guess you could say that with the last one too, with No Country for Old Men. You've got this Josh Brolin character, Llewellyn, who just, again, I still don't understand what his goal was. Okay, money, sure. I get it, but he also just, to me, he just seemed bored. I'm bored. I wonder let me go check this out and put myself in a stupid situation. He did not need to go back there.
So
he did not need to go there in the first place.
Your summation of why I love this movie, you're half right. I do like to laugh at things, right?
Yes.
I do not like the type of economy where it's like, we're going to set up the joke and here's the punchline and everybody laugh. I hate that. It's so typical and cliche, and it's like, in those kind of comedies, you're kind of hold-handing the audience, laugh at this point, everybody's supposed to laugh at this point. Movies like this, like Pineapple Express, or even movies like you just described, Fargo, like that comedy in there, it doesn't matter where you laugh, because a lot of those situations can be funny in the right circumstances. Your hand isn't being held through it. Not like I can't believe I'm gonna use this as an example. Not like Blazing Saddles. Blazing Saddles, you know the parts that you're supposed to laugh at, and it's like on cue, everybody laugh.
Right.
Here,
right. So you like it's more of a, I guess by actual words, situational comedy.
Yes.
The situation itself is what's actually comedic. Not situational comedy as in what they call a sitcom, because that's what a sitcom is, situational comedy.
Right.
But it's like, you like to laugh at the situations, not so much at like a joke or a punchline.
When I was a kid,
but these situations are absolutely ridiculous, because anybody, which I'll say this, not that I do it anymore, but I'm pretty sure each one of us here has smoked at one point, knows the feeling of paranoia that happens, and could put themselves in this situation, but still say, but I'm not this dumb.
No, never.
But that's what makes the characters, back to like a Dumb and Dumber type thing. You've got this character, James Franco, who is just a pothead.
Yes, he is.
That's his life.
Just a pothead. That's all he is.
And then, he's playing Saul Silver, and you've got Seth Rogen playing Dale Denton, who he likes to buy it, and he likes to smoke a lot, but he's not like James. He's not Saul Pothead.
No, he has a job. He has a job.
Yeah, he has a job.
And he's actually pretty clever at his job. He's not exactly. Yeah. When I was a kid, when I was a kid growing up, Nick at Night. That was like my jam when I was a kid. Just like get home, it's like 8 o'clock, turn on Nick at Night, and you can watch like old school sitcoms for like 3 or 4 hours or whatever before you go to bed. Fantastic time, great time to be alive, great thing to have TV, Nick at Night, blah, blah, blah in the 90s. My 2 favorite shows that would come on, Dick Van Dyke and I Love Lucy. Why? Yep. Because it was situational and it wasn't like, here's the punchline, guys. Like, I love that kind of thing. I love that kind of comedy. And this is that to a T. Same thing, like Chuck said, next Friday, I prefer the original Friday. I thought that was a lot funnier. But it's like, it's the same concept. Like,
What's
we're not
up, Big
being...
Perm?
Yeah. They're not holding your hand through the whole thing. That's the problem that I have a lot of comedies. I don't want my hand held. I want to laugh when I want to laugh. And movies like this allows me to do that. And I think it was pulled off brilliantly from beginning to end. There's a lot of stuff that happens in this movie that has me dying laughing. And I think I don't know. I love this movie. That's okay. I don't know what else to say. You got anything else, Lee? I think Chuck
I'll say this.
Yeah.
I when this movie first came out, I'm like, this movie is it's dumb, but it's great.
Yes.
So I mean, we'll get into the specific details as we go. I know you're so excited to do that, Chuck. But I mean, let's look at the cast we have, because I know you mentioned a few people, but honestly, Seth Rogen, James Franco, okay, that's a given. Gary Cole, Danny McBride, also a given. You got Kevin Corrigan. I don't know, remember the show Grounded for Life? He was the uncle, and he was hilarious in that.
Yeah.
He's been in a few other things. I think he was in like Detroit Rock City or something too. He was like a bad mechanic or something. But Craig Robinson, you can't deny Craig Robinson. He is hilarious.
Dude,
when
every time I
he gets
think-
shot, when he gets shot, he's like, "Get your hands off me!" And
Yeah.
they're like 10 feet away from him. He's just shouting out things that make
He's
no
so
sense.
mad. He's so mad. When I think Craig Robinson, the only thing that the first image to come to my mind is probably it's another Apatow movie. It's like This Is 40 or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And they
Uh-huh.
try to go to the club, and he's like, "I can't be letting you two in here. You're old. I can't let." Like
Yeah.
he's dead
Yeah.
serious about the whole thing. It's
Forgot
hilarious.
about him.
I love it.
This Is
I
40 was so good.
absolutely love it. Yes.
And I love that This Is 40 was a spin-off of Knocked Up. It was
Yeah.
the same characters, just like, we're going to see what they do. And honestly, I think that was really well done. Because they didn't have to, like, heavily rely on, like, bring the other characters in at all. It was just like, hey, remember these two characters that were interesting and Knocked Up? I mean, well, that's another one, Knocked Up. I really love Apatow. I mean, I go all the way back to Heavyweights, which was an earlier Apatow film.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also did the show Freaks and Geeks, Undeclared. Undeclared was my jam in high school. Like I used to watch that all the time, and that's where Seth Rogen like first struck it for me. He
Yeah.
was a character named Ron, and he was absolutely amazing. But again, he and Franco were all in Freaks and Geeks. Like they all kind of just like built around all that stuff, and you'll see people pop up since Heavyweights all the way through. But I mean, Craig Robinson, yeah, amazing. Ed Begley Jr. I mean, geez, he's been around for forever. Rosie Perez, I don't remember what else I know her from, but she was in a bunch of stuff in the 90s, I think. Not so much now, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember many things? Oh, yeah, it was White Men Can't Jump. That's what I
Yeah.
remember her from.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what I thought. Why you so stupid? Stupid. Yeah. Nora Dunn, she was an old SNL cast member, and we've got Amber Heard.
Wow. Wow.
So she's here. I mean, honestly, even James Remar in the very, very beginning, you know, you probably remember him more from Dexter. He was
Yeah.
Harry in Dexter.
Yeah.
He's in there just in the very beginning just to say that it's illegal.
Yeah.
That marijuana is illegal.
Yep.
And then, you know, Bill Hader, who's barely in it, but he's just that whole scene is amazing because they're like, let's just study this and see what happens when this man smokes this drug. And he's just like going through all these different emotions the entire time and just upsetting everybody.
I love how he does a one-man drum solo. Like,
Okay. Anyway.
Oh my god,
But-
yeah.
But that's the thing is like so many people in these movies, in all these Apatow films, have just like they're saying these are just funny people. We're gonna give them a basic story. We're gonna give them dialogue, but we're gonna leave a ton of open space for them to just be them because we
Mhm.
know that that's what makes them funny. Is them just being themselves. Like it comes from them. You could, and I think, the interesting thing. I don't know if we talked about this before, but the movie Knocked Up. Before Seth Rogen was the final, they were actually shooting it with Michael Cera in that role.
Oh.
And they were shooting it. They were in the middle of a scene. I think this is when he got fired. But he basically just kept like he wasn't nailing it the way that Judd was trying to direct him.
Yeah.
And he's just like he flipped out. There's videos of it, and he's just like flipped out, and he's just like, "Come on, I don't have to deal with this. I'm giving you gold. I'm giving you comedy gold." And it's like, wow, like now I don't like Michael Cera. Like he was like really stuck up, and I'm like, and you see it, and you go, I'm not surprised that's how he is, But obviously Seth Rogen played that role perfectly for
Yes.
that type of character, and it made sense. Michael Cera's like 14 years old, and Katherine Heigl's like 30, so it didn't make sense.
No.
But anyway, that's my kick on Apatow. I've always had a soft spot for his stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
even Superbad, same type of thing where it's like the comedy level that's in there. I remember, I think everybody, when Superbad came out, Hot Rod also came out, and that was just plain stupid. So we saw that in the theater instead of seeing Superbad, and then we came back and like, okay, I see why people liked Superbad. But you probably don't like Superbad as much.
I don't
Is
like
this-
Superbad because I cannot get on board with how get on board. Oh no, get on board with how over and how popular the whole McLovin thing became. It
Yes.
was annoying. Like, it became popular before I watched the movie, and just watching everybody go around like quoting that movie or like talking about McLovin like it's some kind of folklore annoyed
Right.
me. It annoyed me immensely, and it soured me to the whole movie. So I didn't
Yeah.
even bother.
So if I was to basically say how I, just to kind of sum it all up and everything, with this movie, I like the comedy. I love the improvisation because that's how it all kind of comes together. But there was one thing about Hot Fuzz that I really loved, and it was you didn't see this major action shootout end of the movie happening. Like, you did not see that coming at all. And in this movie, you kind of saw it coming, but you didn't think it was going to happen the way that it did.
Not at all.
I mean, without getting into details here, that Daewoo saw some stuff. And it is, yes, it is. I think it's the stuff that you didn't expect to happen the way that it did. I think that's what it comes down to. You expect things to happen, but they went in a direction that you didn't foresee that's what they were going to land on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you knew, oh, something like this will happen.
Yes.
But then next thing you know, somebody's missing a part of their ear, and you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming.
Not at all.
Just dumb little things like that. Best thing I can describe that's like that is, you ever see the movie The Dictator?
Yes.
Yes, you did. Okay.
Yes.
And that was Sacha Baron Cohen after he was well known for Borat and Bruno and everything. So he couldn't hide anymore.
No.
So he finally had to make a movie that was a movie and not him like undercover. And in this movie at one point, he's hanging on this zipline rope between two buildings, and he's talking about how he needs to lose weight in order for him to be able to swing across because they calculated wrong. So he's like dropping bananas out of his pockets and bricks and all these things. You're like, why do you have bricks? Oh, why do you have a brick? He's like, to balance out the weight from the other brick. And he goes, you have two bricks? Just like really dumb things. He's like, is there anything else you could do? And he goes, I could poo. I've been really backed up since we left Wadia or whatever. And he's like, okay, do it. So he goes ahead and he poops. And after you see that, like, he does it, you see a woman who's down on the sidewalk on the street. No. And she gets robbed by, like, some guy steals her purse and runs away. And she goes, hey, stop that man. And you would think, because of how comedy is, the
Yeah.
poop would fall on the man, she
Yeah.
gets her purse back. No, the poop falls on her and she gets knocked out. And it's like, you expected somebody to get hit, but you didn't
Yeah.
expect her to be the one to get hit. And I think that's the comedy that we need more of now today, because things are too cliche.
Yes.
Things are too obvious.
Yes.
And as inappropriate as The Dictator is, I think I have to give that another watch. I let somebody borrow it. I don't think I got it back. But it's just because of that type of humor, things that you didn't expect to go that extra mile of ridiculousness happens. And this movie touches upon that years before. I mean, a decade before, I think, The Dictator. So that's how I feel. Chuck, would you like to wrap up?
If
the
there's
intro?
anything you would like to close with, Chuck, before you lead us into our wonderful transition, please. I mean, unless you just want to let's get right into it and you can start,
So at this point, if you want to see the rest of this conversation, find us on patreon.com/black and white reviews. You can find us on Facebook at Black and White Reviews, and also YouTube and Instagram at Black and White Reviews 1866. And as always, on any podcast platform, our audio will be free, but moving forward, all video will be on Patreon.
Yes, it
With
will.
that said, I want to start here.
Okay, let's start here.
Danny McBride should have died the very first scene we see him in.